Mags on Media coming to you from the Vega School design brand business in Johannesburg this week as we find out more about the new skills needed to thrive in the ever-changing marketing and advertising industry. Now, with an estimated 2 billion gamers in the world, game design and development is fast becoming one of the most exciting, lucrative and fastest-growing industries on the planet. Vega now offers a 3-year BCIS degree in game design and development, but don't be fooled. This course is definitely not all fun and games. So Robert Crouch, Vega game design lecturer, and Tashal Maharaj, student in game design. To both of you, a very warm welcome. Let me start with the student, because you are far more important. You're the most important person in this equation. I want to know what your parents said when you told them that you wanted to cover or learn or study this particular course.
They were quite supportive. I turned around to my dad and I was like, Dad, prepared to invest a lot of money in my PC because I'm doing this. And he was just like, yeah, that sounds great. It's what you love doing. And he said, and I was like, well, yeah, all we need is one good game. And he was like, yeah, I'm waiting for that one good game and you can pay us back for all the years.
What led you to this particular path of study?
I've actually wanted to always be a pilot, and there was a certain complications with that. So I picked up computers along the way somewhere in my life, and I was really interested in them, and I wanted to study computer science, and I was like, okay, I'm going to do computer science at your average university, but then I found this degree and I was like, well, actually this is so much better than those degrees because I can become everything that you can do in those degrees, plus now I can go into the gaming field with like game design and stuff like that.
You're looking at him as a proud lecturer of a student here. You don't need to say
no,
yes or no.
I'm very curious actually to these questions myself.
I want to know whether you think, Rob, this is a viable career option.
Definitely. I mean, you have to consider that globally, and because of the invention of the internet and all of that, you can make a game here and publish it wherever the hell you please. Overseas, the entire market is worth $108 billion US. That's in profits. It's an absurd amount of money that could be generated. So it's just a case of we need to start gardening this industry. We need to start preparing.
So to that end then, how far behind, in the middle or ahead of this gaming curve are we?
I would say we are a good 7 or 8 years behind. The technology changes so fast that you could catch up because what you knew from yesterday or yesteryear is no longer relevant. So it changes so quickly that we pick up new techniques all the time. So you could catch up very well. It's just a case of we would need quite a lot of backing.
So what are you taught and how tough a course is it?
The course is pretty tough. A lot of people will hear game design and think, oh, it's very easy. I can just take a character, drop it in, and he'll run. It is pretty tough. We learn all the programming. We do C#, a language, and Bob is our animation lecturer. And you start from Walt Disney's 12 Principles of Animation, and you go and use that throughout the entire year, whether it be 2D animation or 3D animation.
How difficult, Bob, is it to teach?
3D is a difficult thing to teach because from a normal education point of view, you would tend to teach something and then you would teach the next thing and you would build on what they already know. So those parts, we call that scaffolding, you will keep reusing. The problem with 3D is that you're not creating an image, you're creating a world. So what you are building in there requires immense amounts of different skills. So what ends up happening is that you're learning a part of this and a part of that and a part of that, and then you have to assemble everything together in one go.
Is there a kind of a core descriptor here? What makes a good gaming student, in other words?
Well, look, I can only really speak from the art side, not from the programming side. The thing I'm looking for is somebody who is more interested in science, because everything that we do is very physics informed. Even if you go through, I made them do a relatively simple exercise of creating a medieval village. And they had to go through what this place exports, which determines the kinds of buildings, the kinds of population you would experience, the sort of size and main buildings that go into it. There's a lot of research that goes into everything. So I would almost put science ahead of being overly creative, because everything that you do is going to then be so technical, it's crazy.
But there's got to surely be an inherent sense of curiosity.
Yes.
So when you're designing that medieval village, for instance, you have to allow your imagination surely to run away with you.
Yes, I do think so, but it's also a case of where it's more about the science than it is about being crazily imaginative. As much as you could invent an entire medieval village that lives on mushrooms, and then you've still got to think about how these people live.
Yes.
So there's an element of kind of both that has to come through.
I've never heard of a medieval village living entirely on mushrooms, but I'm going to leave that one to you. What's your career trajectory? What do you do with this?
Whatever you want in the technological
Give me
industry.
better than you can do whatever you want. What do you imagine you're going to do as you rake in all this money that God's enabled you to make?
Well, I could probably just go straight into a gaming company at first and see how that goes. I mean, a friend of mine's going to Canada for these 2 months for a holiday, and she just emailed EA and asked, with this degree, can I have an internship for these 2 months? And they were like, yeah, sure, no problem. And EA is one of the biggest game creating companies in the world.
So final question, are there jobs available here?
There are, but it's a lot of people competing for a few jobs, so you have to stand out. But with that said, as much as we talk about game design all the time and getting into the game industry, a lot of what is going to happen to our students is they're going to get swallowed by the corporate market. There's much more availability for them there. The designing of programming systems for those is a little bit simpler than it is for games. I realize that there are very high-end technical ones, but in general it's a little bit lower. So what then is going to make them game designers is what they do afterwards. It's going to be their projects they get together for, and they work in someone's basement and eat pizza and drink too much Mountain Dew, as they tend to. So that's what's the example I use, and I'm not sure if I'm allowed to mention brands or not, is always you're going to work on making the game that gets the potato to the Simba Chipper factory, but then afterwards when you're working at home you've got to figure out how it can escape from this gauntlet of whatever's going on there.
That is a very nice analogy. Good luck with your career.
Thank you.
And I hope that more people follow this course. It's part of the new age economy.
Yes,
thank you very much.
Awesome.
Part of preparing students for the real world of work is to have them conceptualize and execute actual campaigns. 2 Vega students, Sarah Saint and Jessica Hay, won a coveted D&AD Pencil Award as well as a Promax Future Award in 2017 for a print and digital campaign to raise awareness for an anti-fur trade campaign. So, Sarah Saint and Jessica Hay, 2 Vega students, and you're both holding awards. Sarah, you're holding a Promax Africa Award. This is a D&AD Pencil Award, and it was an anti-fur campaign that you received the accolades for. So, Sarah, let me start with you, as you proudly hold that statue. What was the campaign all about? Maybe a good place to start is the brief. What was the brief?
So, the brief challenged us to come up with a Fur for Animals campaign for Respect for Animals. So we had to create this whole Fur for Animals campaign, saying that fur is essentially for animals, but in a different way. And the way we did that was we stepped away, we looked at all of these different campaigns that focused more on blood and gore and to scare people into not wearing fur, and we thought, why not do the opposite?
So that's become the norm, hasn't it?
Yeah.
It's the shock approach to advertising. Before you tell us about the campaign itself, the creative energy that the 2 of you developed, I presume you're friends, good friends. How did you start thinking about what you were going to do?
So essentially how it all started is we got a brief, we got about, I think it was 10 briefs, and we had to choose one, and I'd worked with Sarah previously, and I said, oh, she's an amazing designer. We worked really well, let's see if we can work together on this. So I got a hold of her and she said, okay, cool, let's sit together.
You're a designer,
I'm a copywriter.
You're a copywriter, yeah.
Yes. And I decided, okay, let's sit down and work this out, and we consulted with lecturers, and, you know, we came up with the traditional blood and gore sort of ideas. And then our lecturer said, okay, now do something different, think out of the box, really push it to the next limit. So we sat down together and we said, okay, how can we change it completely?
So what's the reveal then? What did you come up with, having thought differently, thinking, as you say, out the box?
So we thought of taking a more cheeky route, rather giving personality and attitude to the animals as if they were the celebrities. Because we always see celebrities wearing fur and bragging about their fur and their looks. So we thought, why not let the animals brag about their fur? Because the animals wear the fur better.
How did that manifest itself then onto the screen or onto paper?
It actually manifested beautifully. From the conceptual basis that where we actually created this idea, we said, you know, okay, you've got your traditional fashion items like who wore it best, you've got your fashion police. So now take that visually and giving them a personality in such a way where you say, that celebrity actually stole my look, it belonged to me. So, and when you actually put that up, it brings about quite a humor, then it also brings about realism in the person. They're like, actually that person, there's the fox that this fur came from, and it looks a beautiful fox, and then it's on a human, and actually there's truly no comparison when you put them together.
So what's the end goal here? What are you trying to achieve? What would you want consumers to take out of this?
So we're trying to achieve overall awareness that the fur is not for humans, it's for animals. And by creating this awareness, we came up with like this big final event concept that we'd have a flash fur fashion show, invite all these high-class people that wear fur, thinking that it's a fur fashion show, but instead have models wearing nude suits and actually walking the animals down the runway because the fur is for the animals.
So
they
taking
wear
a great idea to a logical and unexpected conclusion.
Yeah. So once they pay for the event to come to this fur fashion show, they all sit there, all thinking, oh, this is going to be oh so prestigious, and then out walk the models with the actual animals. And then they actually sit there and they, oh my word, I'm being shamed. I've paid to be here. All the money proceeds goes to the respect for animals.
Yeah.
And it's more about because feeling guilty. Like if they don't feel guilty if you throw paint on their suits, they'll go buy another one. This genuinely makes them sit there and feel guilty.
And the result is what you're holding.
Yeah.
What does this mean for you?
It's really heavy, first of all. It's quite a prestigious, like they're both classified as international awards, because this is the Africa Future Student Award, and that's the DNAD New Blood
These are big awards. What does it mean to you?
Yes. Oh, you don't understand the doors that this opens for us, and that's the one thing about Vega that is so amazing, is they give you the opportunity to enter these awards, so you can actually really get your name out there. And I mean, when we were at the Promax Awards and they played our video, people went crazy, and for us, that's industry people in the industry actually going, well done, that is amazing. So
Jessica Hay, Sarah Saint, well done.
Thank you.
Faces of the future as far as advertising is concerned. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Next up, a daring integrated student campaign called The Dumbest Project. You're watching a Mags on Media special episode hosted from the Vega School's Johannesburg campus. More award-winning student work now. Jason Walden and Malija Mohande collaborated on a brief for the Pearson Educational Group to address the 15% teacher pay gap in the United States. In a risque execution, Jason and Malija used conceptual news footage from the year 2027 to communicate what would happen if there are no teachers. It's boldly called The Dumbest Project. So, Jason Walden, you're a Vega student, you are 22 years old, and you are the recipient of a gold lorry, which for most people in the advertising industry is only something they get much later in their career. So you are a real talent, and thank you for talking to us. You conceptualized something called The Dumbest Project. What was the brief?
So we were given a brief by Pearson, which is like an all-encompassing learning brand. So if a settlement doesn't have enough teachers, they'll send teachers there. If there's not enough advancement in technology, they'll assist in the advancement of technology. But they basically stated and said that within the next 20 years, there's going to be a huge influx of new learners going into formal education. And that's going to cause a huge problem because the education system isn't going to be able to handle that.
So what did they want you to unlock?
They told us that's going to cause a number of problems. It's up to you to identify a problem that's going to cause and solve it. It was
so dealing
really
with
broad
capacity, in other words.
Yes, yes.
So what was your approach?
We just boiled it down to what happens if we have no teachers, and you're going to get dumb people going into high positions, and that's why we called it The Dumbest Project.
It was a risque approach, though. It was edging on courting controversy. Was that part of the thinking?
We wanted to be as edgy and disruptive as we possibly could with this. I mean, that's the most fun stuff to work on anyways. We love to challenge the norms and go against the grain in terms of these types of briefs. Because as a student, it's the most pure briefs you can get because you don't have the budget of the client, and you don't have a million other people crashing down saying, no, it has to be like this, like this. So we love the more risky approaches that's our way to go.
How difficult was it to create or to run the line between the concept and then the final execution? That bit in the middle where you're actually working on it. Was that difficult?
No, it actually wasn't, because we already used existing platforms like newspapers and Facebook and clickbait media, and we just thought, how do we make the concept relevant to this? So we just wrote stories on what would happen if there was no teachers, like if a muscle supplement company miscalculated the amount of estrogen in their products and all bodybuilders started sprouting boobs. And it was just so much fun to just write the content for it, and it was just dragged across way easier than I actually thought it would.
I wonder if the idea isn't slightly ahead of its time, given this Orwellian nature of fake news that we're dealing in anyway. I mean, you've almost kind of hit the target about what could potentially happen anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, I presume that was the intention.
Yes. Yeah. Show what could happen if this, because I mean, the whole project was directed towards sign the petition to eradicate this 15% teacher pay gap, and yeah, so we just wanted to shock people. Shock tactics was just, if this isn't fixed, this could happen.
Do you think ultimately the project is usable, though? It's a very unfair question, because your answer should be yes.
Yeah,
but
you know,
there is a reality between, you know, what you do as a student, where you're allowed to push the envelope a little bit, and you know, perhaps the risk quotient when it comes to actual commercial execution. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I do. Yeah. You know, I think, I mean, it would all come down to Pearson if they basically had the balls to do something like that. Since it's such a risky approach, and I mean, there was stuff like swearing and stuff, and I mean, it's coming from an education brand, is sort of something that wouldn't normally be done. But I think that the storytelling aspect of what we went with could potentially have the power to change people's minds. And I mean, no one's just going to go and willingly sign a petition to eradicate. I mean, it's such a boring, well, I mean, it's an important problem, but it's
not the most exciting thing.
It's not the most exciting thing, you know? So to make it exciting, I think that it could influence some people to definitely sign the petition. And even if it's not the 300,000 signatures you need to take it to government, every little bit counts for this type of thing. So I think it could have the power to influence something if it was introduced in the right way.
Jason Walden, I wish you well in your career. I'm sure it's going to be stellar.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. And that's it from us and this special episode of Mags on Media, hosted from the Vega School's campus in Johannesburg. You can find more content on the show on our social media pages. Until next time, goodbye to you, and thank you for watching.